You may recognize this situation. You explain a complex idea, thought, or feeling, and your listener nods along as if everything is clear. But when you ask what they think, you are met with a confused look. Misunderstanding like this can happen anywhere, from personal conversations to public speaking. To avoid awkward moments and communicate your point clearly, 3 simple principles can help. 1. Express no more than 3 ideas at a time. Human short-term memory has clear limits. Research shows that we can usually hold only 3 to 5 meaningful units of information at once. If you have ever tried to memorize a phone number, you know how this works. Learning the entire sequence at once is difficult. Most people break it into smaller parts and create associations that help keep it in memory. The same principle applies to ideas. Once the limit is reached, the brain must discard older information from short-term memory before it can process anything new. When this happens, parts of your message are lost. That is why it is important to limit yourself to no more than 3 distinct ideas in a single conversation or explanation. This allows both you and your listener to focus and keep track of what really matters. By structuring your thoughts this way, you reduce mental overload and increase the chance that your message will be understood and remembered. 2. Explain ideas in 3 different ways. Presenting the same idea from different angles helps the listener form a complete understanding. One of the most effective tools for this is the use of metaphors. Metaphors rely on existing mental structures formed through previous learning, which makes new information easier to absorb. For example, a physics teacher may explain the expanding universe by comparing it to a loaf of bread with raisins that expands while baking in an oven. This image allows students to connect a complex scientific concept to a familiar everyday experience. Using metaphors does not oversimplify ideas or theories. Instead, it makes them more relatable and easier to grasp. Other effective methods include concrete examples, analogies, and visual explanations. When people hear the same idea explained in different forms, they are more likely to find at least one that resonates with them. This approach also helps prevent misunderstanding, since it reinforces the same meaning through multiple channels. 3. Repeat the main idea 3 times. Repetition is a powerful tool for highlighting what is most important and moving information from short-term memory into long-term memory. For learning to be most effective, repetition is ideally spaced out over time. Think about studying for an exam or memorizing a phone number. When you return to the material after a few days or a week, it finally becomes firmly zakrepleno in your memory. This happens because the neural structures that store the information have time to strengthen. In everyday conversations, long pauses between repetitions are not always possible. Still, repeating your key point several times helps signal its importance. Each repetition tells your listener that this is something worth paying attention to. That is why repetition is widely used by songwriters, speakers, and writers. At the same time, these principles should not be treated as a rigid formula. Communication is not about mechanically following steps. At its core, communication is about connection. The goal is not to impress others with clever metaphors or sharp remarks, but to build a genuine understanding. When you are truly connected to your audience, you can intuitively choose the best way to express your thoughts so that you are understood.